Hey, what's up, y'all? We're back with another one. Let's check this clip out.
Wall Street Journal has done a massive profile story on Stephen A. Smith and about his contract negotiations with ESPN. This Wall Street Journal story came out 2 days ago. On Wednesday, a new story came out in Sports Business Journal. This is all orchestrated and manipulated and controlled by Stephen A's agency. I believe he's represented by WME and Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro. These guys have the types of connections and relationships with these major news outlets to control the stories and the narratives as they make this push to get Stephen A, I think, wants to be paid $20 to $25 million a year. ESPN is offering $18 million a year. I'm telling you all this because it connects to why Stephen A. Smith got so upset with me when I did some research on his book and did the shows explaining the fraudulence of his book and the pathological and consistent lies told in his narrative. This stretches well beyond just his fabricated Winston-Salem State basketball career. But he got all upset because he's in a contract push and he was going to use his memoir, the paperback version of his memoir. This is all part of a system and a scheme designed to make Stephen A. Smith worth $25 million a year. It's all part of a long argument that Stephen A. is the face of ESPN and he's the face of a television network. And if Sean Hannity can make X amount of millions of dollars being the face of Fox News, how come Stephen A. Smith can't make that? Now, Sean Hannity is, let's say, at one point, because I don't think Jesse Waters now has the highest rated show, or maybe it's the 5 or whatever, but let's say Sean Hannity averages 2.5 million viewers a night. And let's say when Tucker Carlson was there, Tucker was averaging 3.2 million viewers a night. And so there was a pay scale for guys that led networks and drew major audiences like that. Stephen A. and his representatives are saying, hey, look, no, Stephen A. isn't drawing 3 million viewers, 2.5 million viewers a day. He's drawing 450, 500,000 viewers a day to First Take. But he's still the face of your network. And so the amount of viewers doesn't matter. He's the highest profile face of a major network, Disney, ESPN. It's worth, he should be getting paid no different than the faces of a Fox News. That's all part of this argument that they're making. The narrative that I put out there about like, hey, this guy is a fraudulent plant. How can he be the face of sports TV journalism when he's a pathological liar and has had a book published or has written a book that's filled with obvious lies? This was problematic for Stephen A. Smith. That's why he had that tantrum, the substanceless tantrum that he threw where he just called me a bunch of names and whatever. You saw it. We don't need to rehash the whole thing. Fly in the ointment, fly in his scheme to get this money. It's problematic. His agents say, hey, don't worry. We can handle that. Whitlock and that show and that narrative, we can stop any legitimate news organization from even addressing or covering it. See, we got that. We control the entire media ecosystem, including the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch and allegedly, and again, this is part of the reason why Stephen A. plays nice with Fox News and goes on with Sean Hannity and friends with Will Cain. It's all a big cabal. Everybody's in on it. Look at the relationship between Stephen A. Smith and Clay Travis. It makes no sense, but it does if you understand how money moves and how there's an alliance. It's the uniparty. There's a uniparty in the media. There's all these. They're acting like they're adversaries, but they're really not. They're all in it together. It's all about money and each scratching the other's back so they can all make more and more money. It's a gimmick. I'm delaying the point. I come up in the story. Here you're doing a long profile piece on Stephen A. Smith. You have to, particularly when you're the Wall Street Journal, you have to address in some fashion what I brought out and exposed about Stephen A. Smith and his pathological lies. He's pretending to be a journalist. And there was a time when journalists used to be held to a standard that it was their job to present the truth. And if you got caught lying or fabricating information, it was problematic for you. In this new era where all these corporations are in on it together and there's only a handful of people that control everything in the media, this can all be worked out. I want to walk you through how this is all worked out. Wall Street Journal publishes a 3,000 word exhaustive piece on Stephen A. Smith. Here's where they get to me and what I brought out and exposed about Stephen A. Smith. During a January episode of his independent show, Smith called out Jason Whitlock, a former ESPN colleague who claimed Smith falsely portrayed his college basketball career in his memoir. He is the worst, most despicable, lying, no good, fat human being I've ever known in my life, Smith said of Whitlock. I just want to stop and pause there. Listen to what they say. Jason Whitlock called out his former colleague who claimed Smith falsely portrayed his college basketball career in his memoir. Did we not do far more than that? And they had, again, when you write a piece this long, you don't have to limit it to 3 or 4 sentences. Stephen A. Smith told preposterous stories. I hit 17 straight threes in big house games, gave me a scholarship on the spot. I drove down for a tryout on a Sunday for a team that was in season. I had a tryout in New York in the middle of the winter on a playground, and a guy drove me down the next weekend to try out for big house games. These are ridiculous stories.
What's up, y'all? I want to thank y'all so much for tapping in with me. And as you may know, right now, Stephen A. Smith is going through some rigorous contract negotiations with ESPN, because ESPN, they're saying that we will only give you $18 million. But Stephen A. Smith is saying that I should be getting at least $24 million. In his argument is that if Sean Hannity, if he can get millions upon millions of dollars and be the face of a network, why can't a black man be the same? That is his whole argument. And just like Jason said, his agency that Stephen A. Smith is signed to, they decided to publish some stories in the media, and their whole agenda, they want to make it seem like Stephen A. Smith is worth more than he am to the media corporation. If you ask me, I think that they should give Stephen A. Smith $24 million because he's the top dog when it comes to sports analysts. They got Shaq, they got Barkley, they got Skip Bayless, they got Shannon Sharp, and these are pretty much the top dogs in the sports analyst niche. Under them, we got Rob Parker and Chris Broussard. So I would say that give the man what he's worth. When it comes down to it, I think that 24 million is a lot of money for being on TV, considering we have so many kids in Africa and other places all around the world that can't even get food for the day. But if you look at the landscape, quote unquote, in the sports media, this is what the white sports analysts is getting paid by these media corporations. And I'm talking about the Sean Hannity and all the other sports analysts. So I think that Stephen A. Smith should get the money for sure. And I actually think that Stephen A. Smith will get the money. So I want to know what y'all think about this. So make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.